right, so we're going to go ahead and cover the review video for Unit 5. Numbers 1 through 10 are really kind of just reviewing the similarity and what sides correspond. So it says to use these triangles to answer number 1 through 6. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So the first thing that I would encourage you to do is to stack up the names. So hopefully you have done that. So you got ABC is similar to DEF. This says angle B corresponds to, and I wouldn't even look at the figures, angle B corresponds to angle E. They are right there. Angle D corresponds to angle A. BC corresponds to EF. EF corresponds to BC, or you could say CB, right? I want to make sure we know that's the same thing. Angle ABC corresponds to angle DEF. And remember, we talked during class, really the main important thing is the middle letter has to correspond. So B has to correspond to E for sure. This says AB over BC. So AB corresponds with DE, so that would be your numerator. BC corresponds with EF. So that would be your denominator. And the same way, those could be switched. It could say ED and FE for sure. Awesome. All right, so number 7, it's the same type of thing. We're just looking at the bottom figures. We've got some trapezoids instead. So it says ABCD and WXYZ. Right? So angle B corresponds with angle X. DC corresponds with YZ. Angle DCB corresponds with angle ZYX. Same thing, the middle letter there. CD over BC, so CD corresponds with YZ, and BC corresponds with XY. So hopefully number 1 through 10, there's really not any like those exactly on the test. Those are more conceptual, just making sure you know what things correspond. So number 11, it says use a proportion to find the length of XY. So here's XY. So we don't know that information. So I'm going to go ahead and put an X there. So that's the information that we're trying to find. And it says to use a proportion. So we're going to set up our proportion box. And hopefully you have put your labels. So the two things we're comparing is DEF and XYZ. And again, your box can be in any different order. So if I set my box up and it's not exactly the same as the one that you did, just check the cross multiplication to see if it is correct. So I would encourage you to put in this variable first. So XY is on this figure. So that's going to be X. And XY corresponds with DE. So when I find DE, that's 2. The reason I do that is because we know we're going to have our variable in there anyways. And so we just kind of put that in there first. So the other piece of information, obviously, that we have on this figure, we only have one piece right now. We have XZ, and that's 18. And XZ corresponds with DF. So we come over here and we got DF is 6. So we have our proportion. Again, your box might look different. Maybe you put the 6/18 over here, which is the same exact thing. And if you cross multiply, you should get the same thing. So we got 6x equals 2 times 18. And we got 18 times 2. So 6x equals 36. We divide by 6 to solve our equation. And the length of that side is 6. So XY is 6. Awesome. So same exact situation for number 12. The only difference is now we're looking for ZY. So because we're still working with the same figure, I might actually name this something else. So we could name it, I don't know, B. Okay. So we'll use the same proportion box, DEF and XYZ. The only difference this time is we're actually looking for ZY. So we said ZY was going to be B, and ZY corresponds with FE, and FE is 5.5. Okay, we still know the same information on the triangle, so I could still use 18, and I could still use 6 because those two things are the ones that corresponded. But definitely we will do that. So this is B, so this is 6B, and that kind of looks the same. That's a 6 and that's a B. I don't know. My 6 and B look very similar. 6B, and then 18 times 5.5, I'm just going to plug that in real quick, is 99. So I divide by 6, and I get B is equal to 16.5. So that means this side right here is equal to 16.5. This is really just finding the missing side. There's going to be 1 or 2 questions on the test that have that, where you have to find the missing side there. So the number 13 says, what is the measure of angle D? Well, I don't really know the measure of angle D here in the picture, but what I do know is that D corresponds with X. So if I look at angle X here, if I know that X is 56, then I automatically know that angle D is 56 degrees. So that one's pretty simple. I don't have to do any calculations. I just have to find it. Number 14 looks very, very similar to a test question. I would say it's not exactly. The words are probably mixed up and the answer choices are mixed up, but this is for sure a question that you will see. This says, the triangles below are similar. Which statement about the triangles is true? Well, we know 2 things about similar figures. One is that their angles are congruent, right? Corresponding angles are congruent, and it tells us that right here. Those angles are congruent. Corresponding sides are proportional, and we can see that with this from this triangle to this triangle. This is 10 times 5 is 50. This is 6 times 5 is 30, and this is 8 times 5 is 40. So they are proportional, right? And we can actually also call that a scale factor, but that is what that means for them to be proportional. So let's just see. Angles, corresponding angles are congruent, corresponding sides proportional, and we talked about this. AC, SP, those are very close in the alphabet. Corresponding angles are proportional. If it says angles proportional, I automatically know that is wrong because their angles should be congruent. Corresponding angles are proportional. Again, already, right? This is just process of elimination. Corresponding angles are congruent, so that seems to work. Corresponding sides are congruent. Well, we know that the corresponding sides are not congruent because if it was, this would be 10 and this would be 10. So this guy does not work. Corresponding angles are congruent, so that works. Corresponding sides proportional, that works. So it would be D. I would just really, really encourage you, this statement right here, definitely memorize if you can. Angles congruent, sides proportional. That's going to be the best thing for you to do here whenever you are solving a question like that. All right, so if you are this far into the video, I would like for you in this triangle right here, I want you to write your favorite Christmas movie in this triangle. So my favorite Christmas movie, actually I have 2, so I'm going to do nope, I'm just going to do this one. My favorite Christmas movie is The Santa Claus from back in the day, you know, when I was younger. So if you'll write your favorite Christmas movie in there, and I'll take a look at that if you turn your paper in. Let's go ahead and flip over to the back. We only have a few more questions. Your test is going to look more like these type of questions that are obviously multiple choice. So this one says, Jorge enlarged a drawing that he made in art class. What is the value of X? So there is no A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H on this one. We've discussed in class some different ways that we can label. So you could do length and width, you could do small and large, you could do height and width. I mean, you could do really anything here. I'm going to do small and large because that's what you guys seem to do in class. So here's 2.75 on the small box, and it corresponds with x on the large box. Here we have 2.5 on the small box, and it corresponds with 7D on the large box. So let's go ahead and cross multiply. We got 2.5x, and then 70 times 2.75 is 192.5, and then I need to divide by 2.5. So I get x equals 77. So hopefully you got B. That one's pretty straightforward. All right, number 16, some of you guys saw on the Jeopardy. So if you did, this is the same type of question. It says, Christy and Jane were trimming the branches of a tree. Christy was using a 13-foot ladder. So there's the ladder. And Jane was using a 26-foot ladder. Both ladders were leaning against the tree at a 40-degree angle. That's just telling us that their angles are congruent, right? It's trying to tell us that they're similar figures. The bottom of the 13-foot ladder was 8 feet away. So we kind of discussed that these make similar triangles here, and that's why we can set up a proportion box. So it's saying, what is the distance that the other ladder is from the tree? So we got our box here, and a lot of you guys in class, you used ladder and ground. So here's this ladder is 13 feet, and on the ground, it's 8 feet, right? If I use the 13 feet here, I have to use the same thing here, or else it's not proportional, right? This ladder is 26, and on the ground here, we don't know. So I'm going to put our variable. We got 13 times D, which is 13D, and 8 times 26, which is 208. And we divide by 13. And 208 divided by 13 is 16 exactly, which is really nice because we can just choose D, and that's what we got. All right, so if you are still with me at this point in the video, that is awesome. So in this tree here, I would like some information from you. So in this tree, if you'll just put your favorite number. My favorite number is 11. I don't really have an idea as to why. It just randomly was, and then that was the number that I stuck with for all my sports in high school. So if you'll just put your favorite number in that tree, that'd be awesome. Number 17, triangles QRS and XYZ are similar based on the statement, which of the following is this true or false? So remember, the one thing that we said is here's what we start with. So we got QS. So QS corresponds with XZ. So what we have to check here. So QS, this doesn't say XZ, so that doesn't work. This says XZ, which is great. Okay. But then this says XY. So this is triangle QRS. This is triangle XYZ. But this is not triangle QRS. So I would say this is false. We could rewrite it, right? QS over XZ equals, and we could just find something else. We could say, okay, QR over XY, and that one would be true. Okay? Number 18 is a scale factor question. Shelby was visiting Sam Houston National Forest. At the entrance, she saw a map of the grounds. The legend stated that the map, 1.5 inches on the map represents 6 feet. How many inches would represent 18 feet? So this is just a straight proportion. We've got inches and feet. And it says 1.5 inches represents 6 feet. How many inches, that means we're missing that information, would represent 18 feet? And there's a really nice relationship here in this proportion. So 6 times 3 is 18. So we would do 1.5 times 3. That's 15, 3, 4. And we move our decimal. So x equals 4.5 and our label is inches. If you wanted to cross multiply and solve, you can do that, and you should still get the same answer, 4.5 inches. All right, number 19. John is planning a trip from Huntsville to Austin. The map shows a scale factor of 4 inches to 28 miles. So same thing, it is a scale factor question, inches to miles. 4 inches to 28 miles. When he measures the distance from Huntsville to Austin, the distance is 12 inches. So definitely write our 12 there. How many miles? And that means we do not know that information. Same thing, we've got a really nice relationship here. 4 times 3 is 12. So whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom. And 28 times 3, that's 24. That's 6, 7, 8. So we've got x equals 84 miles. Okay, last one. Based on the information in the figures below, are these triangles similar? Well, we know if they're similar that 1, their corresponding angles are congruent. So it looks like their corresponding angles are congruent, so we can check that. And 2, their corresponding sides are proportional, so we need to check to see if their sides are proportional. So 3 times 10 is 30. 4 times 10 is 40. 5 times 10 is 50. So I would definitely say yes, that their corresponding sides are proportional and their corresponding angles are congruent, which means they are similar. Let's go back here. If you'll put like a little message box here from this pencil, and then just kind of write me a message here, something that you got, and then you're done. So thank you for sticking with me. I know the video is a little bit longer, but I know you will be prepared for your test. So great job, and see you in class.